You know, what if I told you that one of the most powerful tech empires in history wasn't taken down by some rival company, but by something invisible, something hiding inside its own walls? This is the unbelievable story of Nokia, the company that put a phone in almost every single pocket on the planet right before it all came crashing down. We're going to dig into the critical mistakes that led to their epic fall. Just take a second and look at this number, 49.4%. Back in 2007, that was Nokia's slice of the entire global smartphone market. Think about that for a second. For every 2 smartphones sold anywhere in the world, one of them was a Nokia. That's a level of dominance that's, well, it's pretty much unimaginable today. And it wasn't just about the numbers, you know? Nokia was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. I mean, we all remember the memes about the legendary, indestructible Nokia 3310, right? This was the phone that gave us the game Snake. For millions of us, it was our very first taste of the mobile revolution. The brand was just synonymous with toughness and innovation. Which brings us to the big question, the mystery at the heart of this whole story. How does a giant with a $150 billion valuation, with half the world's market in its pocket, just vanish? How did the undisputed king of mobile phones manage to lose everything? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack. So, to really understand the fall, you first have to appreciate the absolutely incredible rise. And believe it or not, Nokia's story doesn't start with phones at all. Nope. It starts more than 100 years earlier, from some pretty humble beginnings. I mean, look at this timeline. It's just incredible how adaptable these guys were. They started out as a paper mill in 1865. For decades, they were this big industrial company making everything from rubber boots to toilet paper. But then, in the late 20th century, they made this incredibly bold pivot. They bet everything on telecommunications. And by 1998, wow, that bet had paid off. They had conquered the world. Their success was just total. In the early 2000s, when you thought of a mobile phone, you were picturing a Nokia. They were the trendsetters, the market leaders, the gold standard, all rolled into one. They were literally on top of the world. But, as you can probably guess, a storm was brewing on the horizon. And that storm had a name, the iPhone. In 2007, a new player entered the game, one that didn't care about the old rules. In fact, it decided to just throw the rulebook out and write a brand new one. And right here, this is the core of the problem. Nokia was focused on making the perfect thing. They were obsessed with hardware, making it tougher, making the battery last longer. They saw the phone as a gadget for calls and texts. But Apple? Apple saw it as a gateway to the entire internet. For them, it was all about the software, the user experience, and this revolutionary new idea called the App Store. So Nokia's attempts to fight back were, well, they were a disaster. They launched these so-called iPhone killers like the N97, but they were slow, they were clunky, and they ran on their old operating system, Symbian, which was built for buttons, not for touchscreens. The experience was just awful compared to how smooth the iPhone felt. But the real problem, the deep problem, wasn't just the tech, it was the people. Okay, we're about to get into the really juicy stuff, the human drama that was unfolding inside Nokia's walls. This is the part of the story that really explains the collapse. And hey, if you find these kinds of deep dives valuable, just take a quick second to subscribe so you don't miss our future lessons from history. Because trust me, this is where the story takes a fascinating and tragic turn. So researchers from a top business school, INSEAD, they uncovered this toxic condition inside the company that they called shared fear. And it was this two-way street of anxiety. You had the top executives who were terrified of missing their quarterly targets and looking bad to investors. And then you had the middle managers who were just terrified of the top executives. And this fear, it created this absolutely devastating cycle. The top managers, scared of the outside world, put what one person called insane pressure on their teams. This made the middle managers so afraid to report bad news that they just didn't. They knew their bosses could fly off the handle. So what did they do? They filtered the truth. They told leadership what they wanted to hear and promised things they knew they could never deliver on time. This quote from an anonymous manager says it all. I mean, they were literally faking the data, just moving data points on a chart to paint a better picture. The engineers on the ground knew their operating system was years behind the competition, but the people at the top were being told that everything was just fine. The whole company was flying blind, crippled by its own toxic culture. So by 2011, you just couldn't ignore reality anymore. The company was in a total freefall, which led to one of the most famous and most desperate memos in the history of business. The new CEO, Stephen Elope, he sent this memo to every single employee. And in it, he admitted that Nokia was standing on a burning platform. The flames from Apple and Android were licking at their feet. They had a choice: stay and burn with their old tech, or take this huge, terrifying leap of faith into the unknown. And that jump? Oh, it was a massive gamble. Nokia ditched its own operating systems entirely and bet the whole farm on an exclusive partnership with Microsoft, agreeing to use their new Windows Phone OS. It was a bold, all-or-nothing kind of move. That gamble did not pay off. The Windows Phone just never caught on. Developers didn't make apps for it, which meant customers didn't buy the phones. The result was just brutal. From almost 50% of the market in 2007, Nokia's share just plummeted to a measly 3% only 6 years later. It was a complete and total implosion. The end came pretty quickly after that. In 2013, the very same company Nokia had bet its future on, Microsoft, ended up buying their mobile phone business for just over $7 billion. It's a shocking fall from that peak valuation of over $150 billion. But maybe the most haunting final words for the company came from CEO Stephen Elope himself after the sale. He said, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." And that just captures the tragedy of it all, doesn't it? This feeling that a bunch of small, understandable mistakes, all mixed up with a broken culture, led to this unthinkable disaster. So what's the point of all this? What can we learn from this epic collapse? What are the real money lessons from the fall of the Nokia empire? Okay, let's break it down. Lesson 1, past glory means nothing for the future. Nokia got so successful that it became complacent. Lesson 2, it's not just about the hardware anymore. It's about the software and the whole ecosystem around it. Apple got that. Nokia just missed it. 3, and this one is so important. A toxic internal culture can kill you faster than any competitor ever could. That shared fear was a self-inflicted wound that proved fatal. Which leads to number 4. Leaders have to actively hunt for the bad news, not just wait for good news. And finally, the ultimate lesson of our time. You adapt or you die. Standing still is the same thing as going backwards. Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. When you look at the tech giants of today, the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons, which one do you think is most at risk of becoming the next Nokia? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. We really hope you found this lesson from history valuable. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more, right here on Money Lessons by History.